We're going to hear from Eli Gold in just a minute, who is the play-by-play voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we talked Saban with him. We talked all kinds of things with him. We had a great conversation. You're going to love it. He told some stories. A really, really entertaining interview. One of the best play-by-play voices on the planet. And he works with my guy, Phil Savage, actually. He's the play-by-play voice, and Savage is the color guy. This is our conversation yesterday. Here we go.
Talk about championship football, because this guy here knows a little bit about championship football. He gets to pretty much cover it and call it almost every year for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he is Eli Gold, of course, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
A fellow play-by-player.
That's right, exactly.
Good to see you guys, and on the off chance that Gino Torretta is listening, hello, Gino. He and I have worked together, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner from the Hurricanes, who, when he gets out of line, I just ask him about that 92 championship game, and that hushes him up kind of quickly. But good to be with you guys.
It's always good, and you work with my guy, Phil Savage.
Yes, great guy.
Friend of mine for a long, long time, and a great dude. What a broadcast you guys have together.
We've been blessed. I've been very lucky. I'm just a play-by-play guy. I'm a describer. But, over the years, having worked with Ken Stabler, Joe Namath, Phil Savage, it's tough to go wrong when you've got those kind of people beside you. People don't want to hear me. I'll just call the play and then get out and let these greats, for your listeners who may not know, Phil is the former GM of the Cleveland Browns, player personnel director for the Baltimore Ravens, and, of course, Ken Stabler and Joe Namath need no introduction. And when those guys were there in the booth with me, I just call the play and hush up and let them do what they do best.
Did Joe Namath ever want to kiss you in the booth, is all I want to know.
No. Joe would work with us on occasion. When Kenny was my regular color man, Joe comes to a number of Bama games each year, and he would come into the booth and stand to my left while Snake sat to my right, and they would tell stories. I'd call the play, and I'd shut up. And then those boys would start going at it. On occasion, I would have to reel them in.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind telling you that. But some of the best radio we ever did one night was down in your neck of the woods, down in Fort Lauderdale. Bama was playing Colorado in the Blockbuster?
Blockbuster Bowl,
the Blockbuster Bowl. And Snake and Joe Willie were with me all night, and they were so good. We blew off everything we had scheduled at halftime. We just let them go, tell stories, reminisce. It was spectacular. So if you're lucky enough to have those kind of resources, the play-by-play guy has to know his role. People don't want to hear me. Just call the play, get out, let those boys have at it.
Joe, I got to follow up with this. Give me one of those stories. Come on.
I can't.
Come on. No. Give me one of those stories.
So many of them are funny. We talked one day. This is a good story. Bama's up 35-10 at Auburn. And Joe and Kenny are in the booth with me. And the game's late. It's over for all intents and purposes. And I knew the CBS format. CBS was televising the game, and they were on a 3.5-minute break, which they do take on occasion. Our commercial break was 1.5 minutes. So I knew that coming back, we were going to have 2 minutes to fill. Well, there had just been, Bama was on defense, and one of the linebackers just made a magnificent play. It was reminiscent of the Cornelius Bennett hit on Steve Berline. Just rung him up, just unbelievably. And, of course, the Bama fans that were there all rose as one and yelled and screamed. And we come back from the commercial break, and I, welcome back to Jordan Hare, yada, 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 yada. Guys, I said, it's got to be a magnificent feeling to be able to do something and have thousands and thousands and thousands of people react positively or negatively, but it's got to be quite a rush. And Joe answered very quickly. He said, yeah, it is, but he said, there's a price to pay. He went on to a very serious answer. He said, there's a price to pay. He said, look at your buddy sitting next to you, Snake. He said, the man needs a hip replacement, needs to have both knees replaced. He said, look in the booth next to you. That was the athletic director's booth. But sitting in there with the AD was Bob Baumhauer, who you guys remember very well. From
friend of the show here.
Yeah, the dear, dear friend of all of ours. You know, Bob is just racked with arthritis, and his hands are gnarled up, and it's difficult for him, though he does well. So Joe says, you see, he's been in the Hall of Fame. He's won Super Bowls. He's got this. This man's won a Super Bowl. He said, I've won a Super Bowl, but there's a price to pay. And Snake says, you know what? Said, the thing I want to know about is forget the crowd adulation. He goes, I want to know about Joe Willie's Little Black Book. I said, what? He goes, Joe Willie's Little Black Book. And Joe Willie says, well, you know, Snake, we've advanced into the electronic age. It's not a little black book anymore. It's one of those electronic Rolodex things. And Snake says, well, I don't care what you call it. He goes, but that's why your knees are screwed up. And that's when I jumped in and said, all right, fellas, calm down.
First down at the 30-yard line.
Yeah, calm down. Let's not lose our licenses here. But those two guys were great. They really were.
Well, we had some great games. The Dolphins did with Kenny Stabler.
Sure.
Dolphins advanced to a championship
Steve
game.
Hands.
But he did end the Dolphins dynasty. There's with a miracle pass in Oakland back in 1974. You're coming off with Alabama national championship season. What an incredible ride with Nick Saban.
Unreal.
Why have they been able to maintain it?
Because the man loves to recruit. A lot of coaches recruit because they have to. Nick Saban recruits because he loves to. And there is a difference. And when, you lose X number of players each year, and you know the old saying, Alabama doesn't rebuild, they reload. And I don't like to colloquialize it like that, but it's really the truth.
Oh, we had it at UM for a while.
It's
true.
really
It's
the
true.
truth. It was no different than in John Wooden's day at UCLA.
Exactly.
Who wouldn't want to play? Unless there's the guy who grew up and dreamed of pulling on that green and orange jersey of the Hurricanes or the Michigan jersey. You're not going to get that kid if he grew up dreaming of playing for the Wolverines. But other than that, who wouldn't want to at least explore the opportunity of playing for a perennial powerhouse, every game on national TV, getting more and more players to the NFL, have more and more success in the classroom? Who wouldn't want that? So that's probably the biggest thing. Nick Saban recruits nonstop. The man doesn't stop working, never stops analyzing, never stops preparing, and he has put together a magnificent staff. It all comes together. It's all part of that process.
Yeah, it's because he loves to do everything that he does. It's not just recruiting.
Exactly.
Because we got a taste of him down there with the Dolphins. I mean, quite frankly, he's a maniac when you talk about his dedication.
It's unreal. I've worked with every Bama coach since Bill Curry.
Yeah, Spurrier's looking to go hit the the back nine by 2:00. He's not thinking about any of that kind
the coach,
of stuff.
Your coach is leaving UCF with a pretty good position to take a big pay cut and come to Alabama just to learn from Nick Saban. I mean, that says something.
I do think that there are guys, when they go from being a coordinator to head coach, they stop coaching. They become more the CEO. They stop coaching.
Yeah, that's true.
Nick Saban has not stopped coaching. He's very involved with the defense, the defensive strategy, employs the strategy. He's the constant.
You look for him on practice field, always first thing you do, look for the DBs because he's out there with the defensive backs.
He did that with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The same thing. And by the way, our guy, Mark Richt, what's the first thing he said when he took over?
With the quarterbacks.
He wants to get back into coaching.
And Mark
quarterbacks.
is a great, great coach and a wonderful guy. You people have gotten one of the great steals in all of college football. I've been a Mark Richt fan for many, many years, and you've got yourselves a good one down there.
Eli, you won one of your national championships. Alabama did in our town at the Orange Bowl game against Notre Dame. Did you enjoy your time in Miami?
Oh, I always do. I've been down there obviously many times for many different events, but that was a very special weekend. Of course, being a little larger than the average bear, I love your restaurants down there.
Join the club, baby.
Join
the club.
It's not difficult to have some good meals down your neck of the woods. But that was a big game, and that was a immediate comparison on the field of the size and the speed of the SEC versus others who don't come out of the SEC. You know, Notre Dame's a good football team, great football team. But the size and speed differential that night is something you can't coach. You know, you're never going to teach me how to run the 4.40. You can give me all the form. I might look good coming out of the blocks, but I'm going to be passed by everybody inside of 3 steps. That was one of those nights where the Fighting Irish were basically just tackling air, and Bama had quite the night.
Well, you had a great year last season, another championship, beat Clemson. Mm-hmm. What a fourth quarter.
Well, that was what a nail. How did you keep up with it as a
play-by-play guy? How'd you keep up with the fourth quarter?
You just, just call what you see, but don't you dare look away because, I didn't know that onside kick was coming, but I knew that it was in the available playbook, but I didn't expect it. But you can't look away and figure this is just going to be a kickoff. And that's what you do so well. You follow the action, and it was quite the nail biter. I was a whole lot happier the week prior when Bama's up 38-0 against Michigan State. I was having a far better time than I was in Glendale, but it turned out all right.
The voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Eli Gold, joining us here. All right, we'll wrap it up with this.
All right.
When it's all said and done, did you ever imagine that maybe Nick Saban's going to be the greatest coach in Alabama history and maybe college football, because they've got one in Bear Bryant that is one of the best of all time. But we're talking about a guy, and in today's college football, that Bear and the boys could stack up 115 guys on their roster. You can't do that anymore.
No, he would sign guys just so they wouldn't go to the other team.
Right.
That's exactly right. You hoped. We all knew that Nick Saban was good.
Right.
We had followed him at LSU. We knew what he had done at the Dolphins, but zeroing in particularly on the collegiate level, we knew what he had done in Baton Rouge. Could anybody have presumed 4 national championships in 7 years? That probably would have been a little pompous to assume that. But, the first time I met with Nick Saban here at Alabama, not counting the occasional interview at LSU, I saw how he interacted with the student body, not just the student athletes, but there was this function we had just prior to the start of his first season where all the freshmen came to the stadium. It was a welcome to Tuscaloosa kind of thing. They were already there. They weren't being recruited. It was the whole student body, all the freshmen, not just athletes. The man was spectacular. He had these people eating out of the palm of his hand. I called my wife as I was driving back here to Birmingham. I live here in Birmingham, and I said, there's no question why this guy is such a great recruiter. I mean, it was like you guys might be old enough to remember the old E.F. Hutton commercials. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. These kids were 18 years old, just leaning in, hanging on every word. I mean, I was ready to go out and slap somebody when he was done. It was like a 3.5-minute little presentation of, what have you. But he made sure the students knew that they were part of this program. They had to come. They had to be noisy. They had to do and I said to my wife, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. And the guy's been more than good. Yeah, he is just spectacular.
We are, on my side of the business, the play-by-play side. Eli is play-by-play royalty, they go.
I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
I know
you're
that.
You're way too kind.
Not only college football, but NASCAR racing for many, many years, and but I will always know you for Alabama football.
Thank you.
Yes. It's always a great listen, Eli.
And you too over with the Hurricanes. Keep up your great work. And Orlando, nice to meet you, sir.
The great Eli Gold, thank you for blessing us with your presence.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, fellas.
Appreciate it.